Hello, it's New Thought Tuesdays, everybody. You've got Rich Smith and I'm Dean Regan, spiritual creatives. Your calling is calling you. Are you listening? Today on New Thought Tuesdays, we're going to explore staying attuned to what you are called to do and using spiritual principles and practices to be acutely aware of those signposts along the way. This week, we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into honoring your passion and letting that passion set you free. So that's happening today. That's New Thought Tuesday. Welcome to everybody that's here. Hello, Mr. Smith.
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon, Delaware.
Delaware, we're at 1 o'clock on the East Coast. We're at 10 a.m. on the West Coast. And I think we're about 5 p.m. in London for those of you that might be joining us there. Welcome to this live broadcast. If you're on with us on social media, glad to have you here. If you'd like to join us in the future, we will give you a link that you can get a reminder at. But let's get down to this. How this whole thing, Rich, listening to your calling, what does that even mean to you?
To me, listening to your calling is that I think each and every one of us are unique, individualized expressions of the infinite, as I call us, characters in this movie called Life, created by the infinite filmmaker. And, you know, each of us has specific gifts and talents and desires and things that excite us. We're all unique. And so we're all called to something specific using the uniqueness of who we are as unique, individualized expressions of the infinite. And so when you are out there trying to find yourself and you're letting the whole world around you tell you who you are, and you try to live up to that expectation of who you are, you're not your authentic self. However, when you be still, listen to that still small voice, connect with spirit, the spirit within you of who you actually are, and allow that to reveal itself. Now you're working within your authentic self. You're creating according to who you are, and calling. You know what your calling is. What's my calling in life? If I'm doing something I'm not supposed to, I know a lot of people, friends that are working the 9-to-5 jobs or at a job they hate, and they're not happy with their life. And it's because they're not doing what they're meant to be doing. Go find another job that's more in alignment with who you are.
Well, and that's the whole thing of this idea of passion, this idea of your calling. I like the idea of passion. I've always been kind of, I'm an expressive type, and I like that idea of passion and passionate expressing on the human plane. It took a bunch of years to know that passion is a guiding force and not something that can divert you. That passion, I see calling as a little bit more gentler, a gentle awareness of what am I wanting to be and what am I wanting to do? So first off, taking that, what do I want to be and what do I want to do with that beingness? And a lot of times I've found I've found in my life that idea of listening to my calling and my passion really got just grappled in with my ego. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to make this happen. We're going to be. It was really more about doing for me many years ago than being. We're going to make this happen. And I found that with calling, doing what we would call our inner work, which we can talk about in our discussion today, using our inner work to really identify what our calling is and listening to those signs.
Yeah.
You had an experience this week, Rich. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I'll share a little bit about it. A couple of weeks ago on New Thought Tuesdays, I shared that I was really tired of the whole social media, trying to promote and, build my brand on social media, and how I went out to the beach to shoot some photos for it. I ended up on the way there calling somebody and a friend that I hadn't seen in a year, and asked him if he wanted to be interviewed while I was at the beach, because I was just going to shoot. And then on the way there, he said, yeah, sure. And then on the way there, I said, well, why don't I make a documentary, spiritual awakening in LA, and shoot interviews with different people that are on the spiritual path, specifically filmmakers, because that's my avatar. Those are people that I reach. And so we went ahead and shot it. And then just recently he called me up, and he wanted me to come. He was having a ceremony for his son's life, who passed away, transitioned. And so I went and shot it, and I met all these people, and it was exactly what I wanted to be doing, a community, building a community. And he asked me if he could jump in and help me with the documentary and produce it and do it, make it bigger, instead of, spiritual awakening in LA, spiritual awakening in life, and go and shoot in different cities and stuff like that. And so for me, that's like answered prayer. And when you pray, and you pray affirmatively, like we do, Dean, using the 5-step process, the secret prayer that I call it, when we use that prayer treatment, demonstrations happen. You have to be awakened and aware of these demonstrations that are happening and follow that path. So I'm open to see what he has to say about the documentary. It's a lot bigger than I thought. I wanted to do a documentary. I thought a simple little documentary in LA. But I'm willing and open to see how does God want to use me in life? Tell me, call me forward. I prayed for it. I wanted to, and I've been telling Dean for a year or two now, that I want to build a community of filmmakers that are on a spiritual path, and work with them on using spiritual principles for success, much like what we do here on New Thought Tuesdays. And so to me, that was answered prayer. And I'm being open to following through with that to see if that's my calling in life at this point, at this time. Is this divine? Is this a divine intervention to take away from my ego doing all this other stuff that I'm doing? And so, thanks for pointing that out about the ego, Dean, because sometimes your ego can get in the way. And I want to know, is this the hand of God, the divine, the infinite filmmaker, moving my life around so that I'm more in alignment with who I am meant to become as a coach and as a filmmaker? So that was my experience.
And thank you for sharing that, because as you were explaining this wonderful adventure that you took to the beach, and the group of folks were flying kites in honor of this young man, and your friend was there, and Rich also shot some film there. The whole experience for the clips, as you described them to me, was so uplifting. And I guess the answer that I would bring in, or that the thought that I'd bring in, is that yes, God is taking place in all of that. As you move within, as you do your internal work, as you accept the direction of where you're called, where your feeling tone is, gracefully following it. And that's what we'll talk about today in our conversations. How do you gracefully follow? How do you trust? How do you trust this calling? And it's this stuff inside of me. What do I know? Or it's this ego. I know everything. I will do everything. Everything will be done as I want it to be done. This sense of releasing and allowing. Well, today when we're in discussion, we'll talk about how to get there. How I think a lot of us, when we have this dance with our calling over the years, there's a sense of hope, and there's sometimes a sense of hopelessness. There's a sense of delight, and there can be a sense of despair. There can be excitement and security, and there can also be distress. There can be happiness and sadness. There can be both sides and all the gray area in between, as we're using our spiritual practice to embrace the oneness of our own calling. There is a sense of trust that we can develop while we're seeing this movie of our life, as you would say, Rich, unfold. we're also aware of the music of our life, that sense of grace that we can embrace, even when stuff is confronting us, even when there are tragedies in our experience. The tragedies, as this friend of yours experienced, the tragedies are part of your story unfolding. And we can trust that.
Yeah.
Now, how is a whole other story. That's where the spiritual principles come in.
Yeah.
When we talk about calling, though, Rich, when you think about a spiritual principle that would be related to the idea of honoring your calling, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
Principle is the principle of oneness, that we're all interconnected, and that I believe that this gentleman who called me up and asked me if I'd come to this ceremony that he was having for his son on the beach and asking me to shoot, that it's that I was fulfilling something that he was praying about. Okay. So it's all, so I believe that the universe works for the highest good of all involved. And that's the principle, that it's our good is always knocking on our door. And so I have a question for you, Dean, as far as this calling thing. You know, when I was first introduced to you, I think we got a great thing going here on New Thought Tuesdays. It's evolved into something I think it's amazing. And so how did you first meet me, and how did you know that, okay, maybe I should get in touch with this guy or whatever?
Well, I have this little game with the universe, and oftentimes it's series of three. I know when I first got involved, as folks know that I was in Christian Science as a youth, and when I really got involved in science of mind and religious science, it was in the early 90s. And within a very short period of time, 3 different people suggested that I go to Agape in Los Angeles. With you, Rich, it really was a triumvirate of, I was looking to expand my community. I was looking to expand my spiritual collaboration in a format that was outside of the regular church environment. So that was the first calling that I had. And then I had 2 different practitioners who said, you know, you really need to talk to Rich Smith. You guys seem to be simpatico compatible and looking to express the same thing. I said, okay, great. And as we did, I had my awareness on the toll rope of spirit to recognize that there was a wonderful calling unfolding.
Yeah.
And being trusting that I had no idea where it was going to go. And that is one of the, and honestly, that's really what it's been. This is a marvelous calling for us to, every time we talk, Rich, whether it's on New Thought Tuesdays or whether we're preparing, there is a sense of upliftment. There is a sense of spiritual practice. There is a sense of my calling is being fulfilled in this moment through spirit. Now, is it because Rich Smith's doing something humanly, and well, Rich Smith does a lot of really great things humanly, but there is an energy, there is an understanding, there's a presence that I relate well with, and that's how I move forward in my calling. It's how I move from Los Angeles to Delaware, bringing the whole family, a sense of trust. But anyway, we've been doing this for a little bit. We need to get into conversation with everybody. Yeah. Thank you all for folks who are joining us after the fact on social media. We love you, love, using that word, meaning that word. Thank you for doing that. And for those of you that are here in conversation this week, we look forward to speaking to you. So we're going to turn off the recordings and get into that. So why don't you do that, Rich? But before,
let's talk about how we can get, how people can join us.
Thank you. If you want to join us, go to newthoughttuesdays.com. And you notice how we put this at the end. If you're getting this, it's because this is the stuff that you want. Go to newthoughttuesdays.com, sign up to be reminded, and we will remind you on Monday and Tuesday about and send you a link for our Zoom room. So that's how you can do it. Go to newthoughttuesdays.com and sign up for I Want to Be Reminded. And while you're there, there's this really neat confidence tap-in challenge. Freebie, evergreen.
Yeah.
I want to do it again this week, Rich. I want to do it this week. Try that.
Yeah,
all right.
Definitely. Also, I'd like to add to that, Dean, that if you are watching this now and you feel called that what we're talking about vibrates with you, then that's the infinite intelligence calling you forward. Okay, into your greatness. And maybe it's with us. Maybe it's with our community. Maybe we can inspire you on your journey, on your spiritual journey as creatives in the entertainment business. And so that's it. Follow the calling.
Right.
That's what's calling you. It's something within you speaking to you, telling you that this is something that I'm offering you. It's a gift. It's divine grace.
Yep.
So we look forward to seeing you.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to shut off the. Okay, see you later, everybody on online, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday.